everyone, how you doing today? My name's Kirsty and it is time for the mid-year book Freakout tag. Let's go and freak out about how my reading's going for the year so far. I'm honestly not that freaked out this year. Last year I was kind of freaking out at this point. This year I seem to be doing okay. This was a tag created by Ellie over at Earl Grey Books, and there was a second creator called Chemi, something like that. I don't think she or the video are on YouTube anymore, but if I do find out I will link her below. And essentially this is just like a mid-year check-in. Let's see how our goals are going. Let's have a look at the books that we've read so far through the year. And there are 13 questions or 14 questions, but I also have a couple of little bits that I like to do as well. So the bits that I like to do are just to look at my Goodreads challenge as well as the reading challenges that I'm taking part in this year, and basically have a look to see if I have even the remotest chance in hell of completing them or passing them. So first of all, my Goodreads goal, I set my goal to 75. I'm currently sat on a very beautiful 49 out of 75. This means I am currently sat at 65% complete. And according to Goodreads, I am 13 books ahead of schedule. So even if I have a month or two where I don't read, I will still be able to complete my goal. But if I carry on at the rate I have been, I should complete my goal around about mid-September, which will be fantastic. I then have various yearly challenges that I do. I have my self-destruct, which I unhauled without reading one of them, and I have finished one, but the rest of them are still to go. The big one that everyone knows I've done every year since I started Booktube was the Beat the Backlist. My grids are looking good. For the 24 square one, I'm on 10, which is, you know, still plenty of time to get those last 12 done. And then for the 52 square one, I have only completed 14, so I do need to kind of get my butt in gear with this one. I think there are a few I haven't yet coloured in because I'm still writing up last month's books, and there were 13 books, so I might be able to add 5 or 6 more, we shall see. Buzzwordathon, I have completed everything except May. May was to read something with flavours in, and I didn't complete that. However, I might take, I think it's Charlotte from Clumsy Charlotte, her approach with this challenge is that she doesn't read it by months, she just, at some point through the year, she will match something, so she doesn't necessarily do it by the month, she just does it at any point in the year. If she reads a book, she'll match it. So I might go back at the end of the year and do that. But everything else I'm doing really well in. And then June I probably won't complete because that's word other in the title, and nothing I've got is going to have the word other, and I don't want to be starting a book now because we only have 3 days left in June, so I don't want to be starting another book now. Aurelium Yearly Adventure I am not doing too great on, and again this is one that I'm just going to do as and when I read a book through the year. I will fill it in. And then Globetrotterathon I'm doing appallingly, because I've been reading books from all around the world. I just keep reading books in the wrong months. And then the final one is the 52 in 52 challenge that I do, and you can see again I have coloured in quite a lot of these. I've got 21 of 52 done of this one, which is actually more than I managed to complete last year, so I'm quite happy with that. So those are like my just yearly goals and where I'm at with those. But now on to the actual questions for this tag. I'm trying to not repeat books, but I may repeat books because there are a few where I couldn't think of any other alternatives, but I do try to limit how much I'm going to repeat titles, so bear with me. Question 1 is, what is the best book you have read this year? If we go by my core pile and just go based off of what the highest score is on core pile, that would be Beach Read by Emily Henry. That scored a 9.29 and was 5 stars for me. I read it in a day. I absolutely loved it. I connected really well with it. But I think my actual best book of the year, and the one that I had the most fun with, even though it didn't rate as highly, it still did get 5 stars, and that was Boyfriend Material that I literally only finished this week. Wait, what day are we in? Monday. I finished last week, and I just had such a great time with it, and I think, yeah, that one is going to be my best book so far this year. Number 2 is the best sequel that you've read. I've not read tons of sequels, but the ones that I would say I had the most fun with, and the one that I probably had the best time with, is the third book in the Kitty Norville series, which is Kitty Takes a Holiday. Can't really talk about it because it is a sequel and there are spoilers, but it basically was the best in terms of relationships. It had a really interesting story, and I thought that Kitty grew really strongly as a character for me, and it brought in a love interest who I adore and I've sympathised with so much, and it was just a really, really good instalment in the series. But runner-up would be Daughter of the Siren Queen by Tricia Levenseller. I didn't expect to love that quite as much as I did, and it just was really solid and a really fun, exciting book. Number 3 are new releases you haven't yet gotten around to reading. The first one is The Malevolent Seven. I have technically started it. I am on chapter 4, but I'm listening to the audiobook and I'm taking it slowly because I keep trying to listen to it when I'm tired, and it is a book I need to pay attention to follow sort of like what's going on with the magic system and things, so I need to sort of think about when I'm going to read that. But other ones, we have Gwen and Art Are Not in Love by Lex Croucher, which is one of my most anticipated books of the year, and I think that's why I've not yet dived straight in, because I'm a little bit scared. And then I also have an arc of Transmogrify that I'm still trying to work my way through. I don't know why I'm struggling to read it, because all the stories are great. I think it is more I'm not really a short stories person, and I'm not really an anthology kind of person, but I do really want to keep going with this. But this came out at the end of May, and as I said, I just haven't gotten around to finishing it. Number 4 are the books that I'm most anticipating for the rest of this year. Top of that list is Glow by Raven Kennedy. This is the final book in the Plated Prisoner series. The original release date was meant to be July, and then it got moved to December, and I wanted to scream. We also have The Fragile Threads of Power, which is the follow-up series to Dark Shades of Magic, which is one of my all-time favourite series, and I'm currently doing a reread of. And I can't wait to get back into that world and reunite with some of my favourite characters of all time. And of course we have Our Usual Nalini Sings every year they release, and I'm always excited for those. This year we have Resonance Surge, which comes out in July, so definitely excited for that one. Number 5 are the biggest disappointments, and I have been quite fortunate. I've not had many disappointing reads this year, but 2 definitely stand out. The runner-up for this one would be Hooked by AC Wise. I thought this was going to be a lot more sort of action-packed and a lot darker than it turned out to be. I ended up only giving this 2.5 stars. I didn't like the writing. I felt the plot was non-existent. I just felt so let down by this compared to how excited I was to get into it. And then the biggest disappointment for me was unfortunately In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. I didn't appreciate the humour in this. I had real issues with the fact that the main character is asexual, yet every single joke made in this book was sex reference, and I felt it was way too overdone. I felt the plot was lackluster at best, and the ending just felt like such an anticlimax that I almost felt, what was even the point of this book? Compared to how much I've loved his other work, I was bitterly disappointed. Number 6, biggest surprise. I have a few for this one. I have a few for most of these, to be honest, because I'm really bad at giving single answers. One of these was a not so good surprise. It was kind of like a, okay, didn't really like that surprise, and then the other 2 were quite good surprises. The first one is The Song of Yoru and Asa. I thought this was going to be a cute story about musicians, and it was not. There was assault in this, there was someone being beaten up, there was sexual sadism stuff in this. And I was like, this is not the story I thought we were going to get. I expected maybe a boys' love manga. It was dark, and there was no warning anywhere to say that this was going to be a thing in this book. So I was reading it and I was like, what the hell? So that was a bit of a shock and a surprise. But then the other 2 surprises, we have Daughter of the Pirate King, which was a reread for me. The first time I listened to it, I gave it 3 stars and I didn't overly enjoy it. But on this one, I loved it and I gave it 4 stars, and then I went straight onto the sequel and gave that 4.5 stars. So that was quite a surprise that it was a reread that I ended up rating higher than I did the first time round. So that was quite a surprise, but the absolute biggest surprise for me of all was The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I started reading it last year. I gave it up. I thought I was DNFing it. It went into my unhaul video and was in the box ready to go to the charity shop. And then the reading rent and I have done a thing for each other where we had to pick a few books for each other that we had to read. And this is one that they told me I had to read. So I thought, okay, I started trying to physically read it and was struggling. So I switched to the audiobook, narrated by Will Patton, who is an actor I absolutely love. And honestly, his narration hooked me in. And by the end of the book, I still am a little bit unsure of actually what's going on and whether I completely am enjoying it. But I did give it 4 stars. I am going to continue. And I did fall in love with Adam and... oh, who's the other guy that I absolutely loved? Noah. Adam, Noah, and sometimes Ronan. The cat's doing weird things. But I kind of fell a little bit in love with them. I just didn't really like the 2 main protagonists. So it's like Blue and Gansey were supposed to be the main characters. And yeah, I barely gave a crap about them. But this is definitely one I'm glad I gave another go, and I'm glad Ren forced me to read it because now I want to continue. Number 7 is a new favourite author. I have 2 again. The first one is an author I have read before, but this year I have read quite a lot of their stuff. So the author is C.S. Pacat, and I have 3 of their books here. I have Dark Rise, which is a YA that I'm currently in the middle of reading. We have Fence, which is a contemporary YA around fencing, and it's a graphic novel series. And then we have Captive Prince, which is a very adult dark fantasy involving sex slaves and a prince who has been captured by the enemy and is now a sex slave for that prince. So 3 very, very different books. Yeah, I have loved her writing in all of them, and she herself is awesome, and I'm very much on her way to become one of my all-time favourite authors. And then we also have a newcomer to me who is completely new this year, and that is Julie Kagawa. I started off in May. I picked up the Iron Raven from my library. Wasn't enjoying it so much until again I switched to audiobook, and suddenly I was enjoying it way more, and I ended up falling in love with the story and Puck, and I'm now considering going back and starting the series from scratch. And then 3 days ago I started the audiobook for Shadow of the Fox. And again, I am absolutely loving it. And I recently had this discussion on my channel where it was talking about what my favourite mythical creature is. And I said the kitsune. Anything to do with like foxes and fox demons and sort of the Japanese yokai and oni and things like that. That is my favourite area of lore and mythology. So any book that is referring to that, and this is a book that's full of Japanese references, and it just feels so well done, and I'm really loving everything, and the story itself sounds like it's going to be amazing. I'm only sort of 5 chapters in, so we're still early days, but so far I am loving her writing, and I'm loving how she writes her characters. So I think she's going to become a new favourite author as well by the end of this year. Number 8 is your newest crush, and for this I have one and one only, and that is Delilah Green from Delilah Doesn't Care. I fell in love with her almost instantly from her description with her tattoos and her wild curly hair and her photography, the way she is with Claire's daughter, the way she supports her and is loving her, the way she works through her trauma. Not always so great, but also fantastic. The way she builds that relationship with Claire, and also some of the stuff that she does to protect her sister without sort of necessarily showing that she's protecting her sister. I just absolutely fell for her hook, line and sinker, and yeah, she's just incredible, and I can't imagine any other romantic interest is going to be as good as her, but we shall see. I've still got half a year to go. But yeah, Delilah Green for sure. Absolutely loved her. Number 9 is then your newest favourite character. This is where I'm going to be repeating one of my books. So boyfriend material, pretty much every single person in the book. The friend group that Luke has just had me absolutely howling. Luke's mum, I was laughing so hard I stopped making noise and there were just tears rolling down my face. because just that it helped that they had Joe Jameson doing the narration for the audiobook, but it was just one moment in particular where he was talking about she wants to make her curry and Luke is like, don't make your curry, I really like my arsehole to stay in place, and she's like, you know, Luke, for a gay person you are very sensitive about your asshole, and I just lost it. And all of his characters were just fantastic, but it's like if I tried to pick one out on their own I wouldn't really like them, but all of them together and the way they bantered, and even like his interaction with his office colleagues, like when Alex and Reese got in, he's trying to tell jokes and Alex never gets it, and it was just so well done. All of the characters were fantastic. I loved them all. And then I can't not mention some of the classics because I've continued the series this year. So we continue to have Kest and Brasti in particular. Falkio is still, sometimes I love him, sometimes I hate him. But Kest and Brasti from the Greatcoats, I think they are cemented as all-time favourites for me now, and just, yeah, I would die for those boys. Number 10 is a book that made you cry. I think we all know the answer to this one. It's the only book this year that has outwardly, I've had one or two that have had me tearing up a little bit, but there's only one that has had me openly sobbing and had to put the book down because I was crying so hard. And that was Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. I did fine until the last 3 pages and I was gone. I've pointed it out on multiple videos, but just in case you haven't seen it, and just because I seem to really enjoy people seeing me cry, I will put it up here, a link to the vlog where you can see me having that little breakdown and you can find out a little bit more why that particular thing hit me so hard. Number 11 is a book that made you happy. I have 2 for this. The first one is, again, boyfriend material, because everything on this book just it made me so happy, from the characters and the friendships and some of the chats that were going on. The dialogue was fantastic, the interactions were great, and I just had a sense of joy the whole time I was listening to this book. And then the next one is a manga series called I Hear the Sunspot, which follows 2 characters, one who is deaf, one who is not, and they also realise that they like each other. And so we've got this whole thing of having these 2 guys who are working through their feelings for each other, also learning to support each other. And it was just such a beautiful commentary, but it was so well done, and it gave me all the feels, but it made me happy to see disability rep in a Japanese manga and having different perspectives. And you can tell that author hasn't just gone, oh, this is what I think I know about being deaf. She's gone, I'm going to actually do my research, I'm going to work with deaf people. It was so well written. Number 12 is the most beautiful book that you've either bought or had gifted to you, and I've got 4 books for this. I'm kind of noticing a bit of a trend of how I like my book covers. The first theme I'm noticing with favourite covers is Heart of the Sun Warrior, which was gifted to me by Clumsy Charlotte for my birthday. I just think this cover is absolutely gorgeous. I really love all of the flowers on it. I love the colours, but especially the flowers and the phoenix on the front, or the firebird, I'm not sure. But I think that's gorgeous. And then what I'm noticing is a trend, because the book that won my book of the year sort of for my favourite cover for last year was, I think it's down here actually. The book that won my cover of the year for last year was Midnight's Twins by Holly Race. And you can sort of see the pattern and design on it. And then so far this year, my favourites are Dark Rise by C.S. Pacat. Like, look how gorgeous that cover is. And his face and the gold trim. You know, kind of sort of similar. And then the next one is Mysteries of Thorn Manor by Margaret Rogerson. And again, we have people on the cover. So I seem to really love, like, illustrated people on the cover with beautiful sort of flowery backgrounds, because, you know, that just seems to be my thing. Number 13, books that I need to read by the end of the year. The first thing I'm going to show are a few series that I have said I will finish this year, so they desperately need to be done. First one I will be actually reading next month, or this month whenever I upload this. In July I will be reading Tyrant's Throne by Sebastian de Castell, which is the final Greatcoats book. I then want to get the Shadow Game by Amanda Foody done, because I've had Queen of Vaults now for 2 years and I'm too scared to read it. And then the final one is Girls of Fate and Fury, which is the finale of the Girls of Paper and Fire trilogy, and with the emotional wreckage that both of the other two books have given me, there's a reason I have held off on this one. But I will get all 3 of those series read. And then I also have my self-destruct list, which are the books that I need to get read by the end of this year. Otherwise, in January, they will be donated. And even if I want to read them, I've said I have to donate them. And the final thing is a list of creators I love. This is so hard because I was like, I don't want to leave anyone out. But then there are ultimately going to be people that I either forget or I just don't get round to mentioning in the video. But what I've decided on are the people who I tune into the most, people who I've watched the longest, or are just sort of my closest friends. But there are quite a list. I will link everyone below. But we have Ren from the Reading Ren, Paige with Paige from Pages with Paige. Why did you make your username so hard? Paige from Pages with Paige. Jonah, who is brand new to YouTube and is awesome. Mel from A Book Fiend named Mel. Meredith from Reading with Merb. Charlotte from Clumsy Charlotte. And then we also have just sort of like a couple of the classics that I've followed for years and continue to follow. The first is Judith from Dead Good Reviews. And then obviously we have G from Book Roast. So I am so sorry if I've missed any of you off, and you feel free to yell at me in the comments and be like, "Oi, where's my recommendation?" And I will make sure to add you at the end of the year when I do my next spotlight video. So that is my mid-year freakout. And like I said, actually the least freaking out that I've done in my mid-year freakout so far, because normally I am stressing and behind at this time of the year. And yet today I'm quite far ahead, and I'm about 2 months ahead of my reading. Audiobooks, for some reason, I've really gotten back into audiobooks, and I've started reading a lot more ebooks, and I've noticed I read ebooks way quicker than I read physical. Let me know in the comments if you yourself have done a mid-year freakout. Feel free to leave a link below for me to go check it out. Let me know what your favourite books or your worst books or any books that you want to talk about and that have left an impact on you. Let me know in the comments. I hope your reading has gone amazingly so far this year, and if you're feeling a bit dejected and feeling like you're a bit behind, try to not stress too much. Obviously, reading is there for joy, reading is there for love and for comfort, so please don't pressure yourselves. And if you are really behind on your targets, it's never too late to adjust your targets to something that's more attainable to you. And that is a lesson I still struggle with myself, but I really, really hope that you guys either are on track, or if you're feeling a bit not so great about your reading progress, that you're not beating yourselves up too much. And I hope that everyone still enjoys the rest of their year, and I will be back with you with another video like this at the end of the year when we do our end of year wrap-up videos. So I hope you're all good, I hope you're staying safe, and until, well, next video will be soon, but until the next time that I do one of these kind of videos,